Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel, and today I'm really happy to be presenting on behalf of my co-authors our work capturing people's perceptions of algorithmic discrimination when we highlight that the systems are deployed in contexts marked by systemic injustice. As probably all of you are aware, there are numerous examples of how algorithms can be harmful to different groups of people. Several reports indicate that algorithms can be discriminatory against racial minorities, gender minorities, based on migration status, etc. These numerous examples have fueled a lot of research on how we can make these systems more fair. The main idea is that we can optimize algorithms so that they satisfy specific statistical criteria, achieving some kind of fairness notion. But are these criteria actually sufficient to ensure that algorithms do not discriminate? Some people would argue that, well, they are not enough. And the main problem is that they overlook that algorithms are deployed in domains that are marked by structural injustice. So because algorithms do not really address the source of these injustices, instead only trying to solve them on a surface level, the systems might only end up perpetuating and exacerbating existing injustices, but now behind the veil of objectivity and fairness. Instead, what these scholars actually argue is that we should instead of acknowledge that algorithms are shaped by unjust social structures. Prior work focusing on capturing people's opinions about algorithmic fairness also suffer from the same limitation. They largely ignore that the context in which the systems are deployed are also unjust. And this is really important when the main results, the implications of these studies aim to inform policymaking and development of the system so that they do not discriminate. This has led to our first research question, which is how shedding light on historical injustice in a particular domain impacts how lay people perceive algorithmic discrimination in that same domain. But this connection between injustice and instances of algorithmic discrimination relies on the understanding that algorithms learn from past human decisions and thus perpetuate these biases. Unless people actually make this connection, acknowledging systemic injustice doesn't really impact people's opinions, which has led to our second research question. How does explaining that algorithms learn from past human decisions and therefore perpetuate human biases moderates the effect of contextualizing algorithms and injustice? Finally, something that we also explore in the study is how one's positionality in relation to injustice impact people's opinions. We focus on racial identity, given a lot of prior work in social psychology in the US context, and we explore how does one's racial identity moderate the effect of contextualizing algorithms and systemic injustice. We address these three research questions through a 2x3 experiment, 2x3 between participants experiment. We actually showed participants a vignette depicting a hiring algorithm that scores job applicants for a company. In our vignette, this hiring algorithm was found to assign lower scores to Black applicants compared to similar white applicants. We conducted this study with US residents from Prolific, and half of our sample self-identified as white, and the other half as other racial groups. So how exactly did our experiment work? So first, participants were randomly assigned to one of two context manipulations. Those assigned to the baseline condition didn't read anything additional, but those assigned to the historical injustice condition were also shown two paragraphs describing the role of racial injustice, both in the past and in the present, on how companies make hiring decisions. We explicitly told that Black job applicants have been and continue to be discriminated in hiring decisions. Right after this manipulation, participants read the vignette. All the participants read the same baseline vignette, where we introduce a company that is employing an algorithm to help them decide who to hire, such that an investigation later found that this algorithm was discriminatory against Black applicants. Those assigned to the learn condition also read an additional paragraph that explicitly told participants that the algorithm learns how to score job applicants from past human decisions. Those assigned to the perpetuate condition, in addition to this paragraph that I just mentioned, they also read another paragraph being quite explicit that if these past decisions are biased, the algorithm will perpetuate the same biases. So it's a more direct manipulation, being really explicit about how algorithms can perpetuate past biases. We measured several variables in our study. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on our main dependent variables, which is the perceived distributive, procedural, and interpersonal fairness of the system, as well as participants' reported trust in it. We also asked participants to self-identify in terms of race and report their political orientation. And we also measured several context-related variables, such as participants' belief in racial injustice and inequality of opportunity. Because of time limitations, we cannot discuss all the results here and all of our measures, but if you're interested, please feel free to come talk to me, drop me an email, or refer to the paper as well, because we also report all of the results there. So all in all, participants were quite negative about the system that was discriminatory. No matter people's racial identity, everyone denounced an algorithm that's discriminatory. When you look at our first research question on the effect of contextualizing algorithms and systemic injustice, we found no main effect. In other words, highlighting that algorithms are deployed in contexts that are marked by systemic injustice did not really impact how people perceived one particular instance of discrimination. Looking at our second research question, we found no moderation of explaining how algorithms work on people's perceptions of the system in our vignette. In contrast, when we focus on our third research question, which is the effect of racial identity, we found clear heterogeneous effects. For the sake of statistical power and also for the simplicity of our results, we grouped participants in two groups. Those who self-identified as white, we categorized them as advantaged, which is in line with our vignette and our experimental manipulations, whereas all other participants were grouped in this disadvantaged group. If we rerun all of our analysis using more fine-grained categories of race, we found consistent results. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to focus on this binary categorization here. What we found is that highlighting that algorithms are embedded in historical injustice made those portrayed as disadvantaged, which are racial minorities in our study, more positive about algorithms. They actually believed that the algorithm was more fair and they reported higher trust in it. In contrast, those portrayed as advantaged, white participants, reported more negative attitudes towards the system. So although people initially agreed that unfair algorithms are bad, right? Everyone denounced the system. They started to disagree about it when the system was contextualized in systemic injustice. And this is quite surprising because highlighting that algorithms basically are perpetuating the same biases that have existed for a long time and continue to this day, inadvertently made some people, those from racial minority groups, more supportive of unfair systems. We discussed several potential explanations in the paper, but I'm going to focus on two here. So it is possible that a manipulation describing racial injustice in hiring decisions worked as a reminder that racial injustice exists and is prevalent in society, but for those in the advantaged group. Those in the disadvantaged group, like racial minorities, because they are more likely to experience discrimination, they could have been more initially likely to think of injustice when reading our vignette. In contrast, white participants maybe needed kind of like this reminder that racial injustice really exists in the particular context. When we focus on the racial minorities, those that we treat as disadvantaged participants, it is possible that our context manipulation highlighted the fact that humans are biased, right? It focused that humans have been and continue to discriminate in hiring decisions. So in comparison, algorithms could have been perceived as more objective. So they are bad, they are discriminatory, but given the option of being evaluated by a human, algorithms do not look that bad. As I mentioned, we have several other potential explanations in the paper. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out. I would also love to discuss all of our potential explanations and also additional results that we have in the paper. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward to any further discussions that we have about this project. Thank you.